All right, guys, we've got about a minute or so until class starts. Hopefully you got my email and have collected your props, but if not, you can go ahead and grab a couple blocks or largish books, a blanket, and a bolster or a couple pillows. We are going to start seated today, so feel free to cushion whether it's on your bolster or the blanket. We'll also be transitioning to our knees. So if you would like to have that extra padding of a blanket, maybe go ahead and sit on the blanket, and then it's there and ready for when we transition to a little bit of stuff on our knees through our practice. So as you're ready, we'll go ahead and come to a comfy seat for your body. That could be cross-legged, but it could also be different. I like to sit cross-legged, so I generally do. And then maybe just start to close your eyes and settle into your seat. Settling, not sinking, so still feeling length through the spine. Front of the head is reaching up, and the chin is pressing back slightly to keep the neck in line with the spine. I've been talking about that recently, thinking about almost trying to make a double chin. Most of us pronate our head forward, and so it will feel like you're pulling back. And it actually helps you readjust your alignment. As you sit, you feel shoulders stacked over hips. And breath is just easy to start. As you check in with your breath, perhaps you also do a little bit of a body scan, noticing anywhere you've got a little bit of tension, and perhaps beginning to deepen the breath to help your body find space there. As you pause, perhaps you choose to set an intention to guide your practice today. Maybe it's the cultivation of balance between mind and body, strength, or maybe perseverance. Feeling free, of course, to set an intention that serves you best. And wherever you are in your breath cycle, go ahead and exhale everything out. And we'll inhale as we reach our arms high. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hands to heart. For 2. And 1. Letting the hands pause at heart center as you seal in your intention. And then if you are sitting cross-legged, go ahead and swap the cross. We tend to put one leg in front more often. And you can rest your arms back down on the thighs, hands can face up or down, yogi's choice. We're going to warm the spine up from the top down today. So as you're ready, drop the chin to the chest. And start with half moons across the collarbone. Feeling that movement isolated, so we're not rounding shoulders or twisting the torso. The movement comes from the neck. Finding about 6 or 8 rounds tick-tocks. Maybe you feel or even hear the mobility happening through the back of the neck. Maybe you're just noticing the sensation of the chin across the chest. As you even out that tick-tock, you'll briefly pause, chin in the center, and then stack the head back on top of the spine. Then finding motion with slow shakes of the head no. It's as if you're gliding your chin across maybe the top of the water, so it's not dipping or lifting, just going in a straight line. Again, we're moving only from the neck, so we're not forcing. You might find that you don't look over the shoulder quite as far as you thought you did, and that's okay. And as those even, we'll pause in the center and find one more round, this time lifting up and over, ear to shoulder, and then back up. You're drawing that rainbow shape with the crown of your head, opening up through the side of the neck, maybe even feeling some space in your shoulders. And those tick-tocks even out, and you return once more to that centered, neutral head. Maybe you flip the palms if they're facing up, and shoulder roll up and back a few times. Feeling free to do one shoulder and then the other, if that helps you find a little bit more space. Then as you're ready, we'll transition to our tabletop. Maybe you roll through the knees, maybe you drop a hip to one side and arrive, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Crown of the head reaches forward as your hips and tailbone reach behind. Your belly button pulls up to the spine, supporting the low back particularly. Then your next inhale drops the belly as you look up for cow pose. Exhale, round to cat. Syncing your breath with your movement here as you move through cat-cow. Feeling mobility and space through the middle and upper back. As you find about 3 more rounds. And then we're gonna all meet in a cat pose. Rounding through the spine, staying here for an extra round of breath. And then gently lean to one side, opening a little more through that shoulder. And then leaning up to the other side. Maybe you sync that movement with breath as you go through maybe 1 or 2 more rounds. Feeling some extra space underneath the shoulder blade into the rib cage. Then we'll pause in a neutral spine and shift our hips back to child's pose. Feel free to take puppy if that is more gentle for your knee. Feeling the hips dropping to the heels, maybe even using your hands just a little bit as leverage to feel some space there through that lumbar spine. Your next inhale brings us to stand in kneeling mountain. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hands pass through heart center as we shift forward to tabletop. Extending your right foot behind and then pressing into the right toes. Intensity of this is up to you, stretching through the whole back line of the right leg. Maybe you take a gentle bounce through the toes, feeling some space, maybe even through the low back, hips, hamstrings, and calves. And inhale reaches you back up, leg hovers, knee settles. Stretching the opposite leg behind, lowering to the toes, and finding that stretch on your second side. Maybe one side needs a little more pressure or leverage than the other, and that's okay. Then lifting the leg, knee places to the mat. Hands might walk about one hand print forward. As we come into a modified plank, lowering slowly as the chest comes forward and the elbows hug the ribs. Lifting into cobra, baby cobra. Hands may stay on the mat, elbows reaching back, or maybe you hover. Doing a little bit of strengthening here for the upper back. As we hold our cobra for 5, 4, low belly is engaged, 3, 2, and 1. Releasing, pausing with your favorite cheek to one side. Hands are by your sides. And bringing the chin forward, legs glued together like a mermaid tail. Hands remain by your hips this time. Palms can face up or down, yogi's choice. And you inhale your way up to locust. Little sips of air here when we do strengthening on our belly. Deep breaths are sometimes a little bit more difficult to attain. Holding here, hands and tops of feet are still pressing into the mat for this round. For 5, 4, neck is long, 3, 2, and 1. Pausing, swapping cheeks. Feeling free to remain still, or maybe you want to take a windshield wiper of the feet from side to side, releasing any tension in the low back. And chin forward, comes forward once more, hands are by the hips. You've got your mermaid tail behind you. Inhale lifts you up. Maybe this time you hover the arms, maybe you hover the legs. Holding in your locust for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Settling, cheek to mat. Pausing for a couple rounds of breath. Noticing how the upper back feels, upper and middle back. And bringing the chin forward, legs stay as close together as possible this time. We bring the elbows under the shoulders for Sphinx pose. Gaze is still down and forward, so you're not trying to look at the ceiling that crunches the neck. And you want to feel as if you're trying, maybe imagining you pick up a grain of sand with your belly button. That helps pull the belly away, engage through the low abs, and support the lid back. Often, when we go from Sphinx pose or any other higher bends, back bends here, we sometimes sink into the low belly, and that puts pressure on the low back. Feeling free to stay in Sphinx with the elbows down, or maybe you begin to lift the elbows off the mat, finding a little bit of king cobra. Holding wherever you are for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering gently, elbows can go wide this time, making a pillow for the forehead. Maybe you choose to bend the knees and windshield wiper once more. We've got one more set. This time we're going to reach our hands out wide, tinting up through the fingers. Inhale, lifts the upper chest, the chest and upper body up, rooting through those fingers. Maybe you stay here, fingers on the mat. Maybe you lift the legs, you can bend at the knees like you're pushing the feet up onto the ceiling. Maybe your hands hover as well for side diver. Holding any variation here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly releasing, pillow once more. Pausing. Noticing how the back feels. Then as you're ready, you can press your hips back to the heels. Pausing once more in child pose. And if you've chosen to pad your knees, go ahead and scoot that blanket out of your way. As you make your way into a down dog, tucking the toes, pressing the hips up and back. Maybe you walk your dog, maybe you wag your tail. Hands are active, shoulders pressing away from the ears. Feeling length through the entire back line of the body. Legs elongating from the hips down. Spine elongating from the hips up. And as you're ready, you can bend through the knees and look forward. And then step your way to the top of the mat. Finding a gentle forward fold. Knees can bend as much or as little as you prefer. Maybe you grab for elbows. An option I really liked recently is reaching for shoulders. And releasing your grip. Inhale brings you halfway up. Exhale, hold. And bending deeply through the knees as you tuck the tail, stacking your way up to mountain pose. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, sits the hips down and back. to chair pose. Hands can continue reaching up or come to heart center. Tailbone reaches down, knees stacking over ankles, shoulders reaching back as if they can lean against the chair behind you. Holding in chair for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Releasing to a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifts. Exhale, folds. Stepping your left foot back as you peel to crescent lunge. Taking your time to get there, setting up joint alignment, feeling 2 shoulders over 2 hips, working toward that short edge of the mat. Low back reaches down, tailbone pressing down. Arms can reach or stay in heart center. Elbows go wide as the chest opens to the ceiling. Inhale, return center. Your next exhale swoops the right arm down and back. Upright twist in your crescent. Fingers reaching as if they could touch the wall in front and behind. Swooping that arm back, up, and forward. Hands come to heart center. Stepping the left foot to meet the right in chair pose. Inhale, releases to mountain. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach. Taking a half vinyasa, exhale, hinges forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise the breath back up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, chair pose. Settling the arms where best serves you. As we hold in chair for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, releases forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands plant, right foot steps back. Healing your way up to crescent lunge. Setting in to the squareness of joints. Maybe arms stay high, maybe hands pause at the heart. Feeling free to bend the back knee slightly, which helps drop the tailbone toward the mat. Then you can stretch back through the hamstring. Inhale, opens the chest to the ceiling. Next inhale returns to neutral. Exhale, sweeps the left hand down and back. Upright twist to the left. Inhale, swoops you back to center. Exhale, hands to heart. Right foot steps to meet the left. Chair pose. Inhale, mountain. Exhale, hands to heart. Weight shifts to your left foot. as your right knee lifts forward, like you're stepping on a stair. Hands can stay at heart, or maybe they move with the leg. Inhale, arms reach as the foot reaches forward. Shoulders down. Exhale, bends, hands apart. For 3, 2, 1. Hover and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands to heart, knee bends, foot plants on the floor. Inhale, half vinyasa reaches. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale brings you back up. Exhale, hands to heart. Weight shifts to the right foot as your left knee lifts. Stabilizing, shoulders stacking over hips. Arms can stay or move with your leg. Inhale, reaches. Exhale, bends. For 3, 2, 1. Hover and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bending it all in, stepping the foot down. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, half vinyasa. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, hands to heart. Step it out, say it out, shake it out. Maybe grab a sip of water if you need. Then as you know, I do love to stand in the block. So we'll set our blocks, both blocks, low side or books, whatever you're standing on, that will do. So that when you stand on those blocks, your feet are still hip distance apart. We're going to move through a modified version of the flow we just did, noticing the minor or micro differences that challenge our muscles for stability and balance simply by standing on our blocks for this flow. So as you're ready, we'll step our feet to the center of our blocks. If your foot happens to be longer than your block, I suggest toes sticking off versus heels. Because if your heel is sticking off the back of your block, actually, that right there is a delightful calf stretch. But as we shift through, especially our crescent and our chair pose, you're going to tip the block backwards. We want to stay on top of our blocks. So we'll settle into our mountain, just noticing, A, we're a little bit higher off the ground. B, if you're using a foam block, especially, there's a little bit of squish and give that's already challenging your balance. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, chair pose. Hips sinking down and back. Maybe those hands come to heart, or maybe the arms reaching high helps you feel stable and balanced. We hold chair pose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands come to heart center. Weight shifts to your right foot. As we step the left foot back, crescent lunge. As you stabilize and square, hands reach, finding your full crescent. The distance between feet may be a little bit less, and that's okay. Inhale, elbows bend as the chest opens to the ceiling. Your next inhale returns. Exhale, swoops for your upright twist. Spine is still long, shoulders down. Inhale, swoops the right arm back forward. Exhale, hands to heart. Rooting through that right foot as we bring the left knee forward. Stabilizing on one foot. Hands may stay at heart, or maybe you reach and extend. Inhale, leg extends. Exhale, knee bends. For 3. 2. 1. Hover and hold for 5. 4. Hips are square. 3. 2. 1. Hands to heart, knee bends. Foot plants on your block. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, half vinyasa. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale brings us up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, chair pose. Settling in, feeling strong. Holding for 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Hands to heart. Weight shifts to your left foot, right knee lifts. Step in the right foot back to your crescent lunge. As you feel stable, inhale as your arms reach, finding your full crescent lunge. Feeling the rib cage close to stabilize the torso. Your next inhale, elbows go wide as the chest opens to the ceiling. Returning neutral, and the exhale swoops to your upright twist. Inhale, swoops back center. Exhale, hands to heart. Feeling strong and rooted through your left foot. Right knee comes forward. Feeling 2 shoulders over 2 hips. Not jacking that hip up, but as if there's a straight line from hip to hip. My line's not straight because my hips are uneven. Inhale, extends. Exhale, bends. For 3. 2. 1, and we hold for 5. 4. 3. Be sure you're breathing. 2. One. Hands to heart, knee bends, foot plants on your block. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hinges, forward fold. Pausing here in a little bit of a dangle. Perhaps noticing the difference of that forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifts. Exhale, holds. Inhale brings you up. Exhale, hands to heart. Pausing in this elevated mountain, maybe you close your eyes. Your weight will kind of sway a bit to readjust. And as you're ready, you can step it off those blocks. Feel free to scooch them out of your way. Maybe you shimmy and shake it out and grab a sip of water. And we'll meet back at the top of our mat, or our mat in them. Our inhale reaches. Exhale hinges to our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands plant. Stepping it back to your down dog. Maybe noticing additional space, maybe walking or shaking it out. And then slowly lowering the knees to the mat as you shift to pause in child pose. Checking back in with the breath. Perhaps revisiting your intention. And bringing yourself up. Dropping a hip to one side and coming to a seat. So we did some strengthening through the upper back. And so we're going to start with a supported heart opener using our blocks. If you are using books, those have a slightly sharp edge. So perhaps you still kind of do some book stacking. And depending on how that works, it may have to, the sides may not be quite as high. We're basically doing a lower side and a higher side of our blocker book. If you're using books, take your blanket and drape it over those books so that the edges are not too sharp into your shoulders. If you're using blocks, you're welcome to use that blanket, but the blocks are soft enough that it's sort of that deep tissue massage without digging too deeply. So once you've got your blocks set, and I will say, the placement of the low block really decides the comfort level of this particular posture. So it may need to be a hair higher or a hair lower for your back. Ultimately, you'll probably feel the corners of your block just underneath the wings of your chicken leg. I just mixed all the phrases. Your chicken wings of your shoulder blades. The high block goes on the base of your skull. So to set up for this, don't worry about the placement of the legs until you've reclined. You grab your low block first and set it, think shoulder blades, sports bra line. Then you can reach behind, grab your high block, tuck the chin, base of the skull goes down, block finds the mat. Arms are in gentle T. Then you can play with leg placement. Maybe you like extended legs. Maybe you like to keep your feet planted on the floor. Maybe you like reclined goddess with the bottoms of your feet together. If you choose that one, just really pay attention to the low spine. Settling here for an extended hold as we shift into a few restorative postures before finding Shavasana. So unlike the first part of our practice, we're not working toward a posture. We're allowing the posture to be supported by props for longer holds so that we can target our connective tissue. As you inhale here, the belly rises, space through the entire front side of the body. Exhales melt over the blocks. Imagining your shoulders could drop between your blocks or books to the mat. That's anatomically pretty impossible. But that kind of heaviness will help reverse all our tech comfort that we do throughout our day. Opening through the heart. And reversing that round forward. That is, unfortunately, very natural for most of our postures. It isn't actually natural, but we've shifted into that space. Settling here for about 8 more rounds of breath. Perhaps you remain still, or maybe you take very gentle shapes of the head, massaging the back of the skull, perhaps releasing tension behind the eyes or through the forehead. We took that nod, even it out, and pause in stillness, the last 3 rounds of breath. And slowly, as you're ready, you can guide yourself up to a seat, supporting your body however works best for you. As you arrive upright, briefly pause, chin to chest. And shifting in to 1, maybe 2 more supported postures. Scooching those blocks out of your way. And taking a very gentle V of the legs. Think maybe width of your mat. Feel free to go a little bit wider if you so choose, but absolutely not necessary. And make sure you grab a bolster or pillow. And as you stabilize, first make sure all the booty meat's out of the way, so you're right on top of those sit bones. We're just going to start sitting upright and tall. Before we hinge into our forward fold, we're going to send our arms forward. Shoulders are stacked over hips. I talk a lot about the potential tilting of pelvis when we are in seated, just seated postures in general, but particularly seated forward folds. So we're going to kind of feel the difference between that before we hinge forward. So from here, we start arms reaching forward, shoulders stacked over hips. Then you're going to rock a little bit back on your pelvis. Your heels might pop up and you round through the low back. This does not feel great, probably. This is not where we want to hinge for our forward fold. Go ahead and lift yourself back up onto your sit bones. We're gonna move with our breath here. We're gonna exhale, kind of round over that punch in the belly, tilt back. Inhale, stacks you back up. For 3. 2. 1. Sitting upright, just relaxing those arms. Maybe shimmy out the back just a little. We'll grab our bolster. Just be sure that the zipper side is down. You don't really want to smush the zipper into your face. And we'll start pretty high up with our bolster, kind of keeping it at an angle on that corner a little, so that as you lean forward, the crown of the head is kind of going up toward the corner of your room. As you hinge a little bit forward, your chest gets stopped by that bolster, and you're lengthening through the low back. Maintaining that shape with the low back, you can scoop the bolster farther forward. You could lower the bolster, reaching up and forward for your hinge. You, of course, can do this fold without the bolster at all. But sometimes it's nice for a little extra cushion. Pillows work just fine here as well. Inhale to create length and space through the back here. Feel the expansion between the ribs as you inhale. And the exhale might surrender you forward just a smidge more into your hinge. Gently walking yourself back upright. Maybe circle the shoulders up, back, and down a few times. And scooting your bolster out of the way, make sure any props that you like to support Shavasana are pretty handy. We are going to recline and eventually arrive in Shavasana, but not right away. This way you don't have to come all the way up searching for props. When you're ready, you can bring your feet onto the mat, catch on the backs of the thighs, and slowly guide the spine to the floor. As you arrive, coming into your knee hug. Maybe first, pausing in stillness. Feeling the spine elongating against the mat. Then you can find some movement, gentle sways. Maybe moving through your feet, your ankles. You could circle the ankles as if they're one big foot, keeping the big toes glued together. And then the other direction. We often circle ankles in isolation from one another. And arms reaching out, T-shape, knees come to hover over the hips. And we'll drop the knees to the right, coming into a nice gentle supine twist. Shoulders pressing into the mat, maybe the gaze is over the left hand. Feeling free to add or embellish into any spinal twist you prefer. You could eagle wrap the legs. You could extend the top foot. Letting go of any variations and returning to the knee stack. In your next inhale, lift the knees through center. The exhale drops them to your second side. Maybe starting with just the knee stack. And then gently shifting into any variation. Ideally, it's the same as your first side to your second, but sometimes differences from one side to the other require different modifications. If you took modifications, stack the knees once more. And bring the knees back through center. Maybe plant the feet on the floor, pausing in a neutral supported spine. As you decide if there are any additional postures your body may need, be a simple knee sway, bringing out any final tension in the lower back. Could be a happy baby. Could be a restorative inversion with the legs simply reaching to the ceiling. Or anything else your body needs to close out your practice prior to settling into your Shavasana. Rounding out those options you've chosen as you begin to settle into your most comfortable Shavasana. Maybe that means you pop a bolster, kind of medium side under your knees. Maybe that means you shimmy up to a wall or anything in between. Maybe you take up space. Maybe you plant the feet on the mat. Maybe you shimmy your shoulders just a little bit farther down, creating space through the upper back. As you settle and surrender into your Shavasana, maybe the mind returns to the intention you set at the beginning of your class, perhaps revisiting those notions of balance, strength, or perseverance. Seeing how strength and balance were woven through your practice as they settle into your body, as you rest and rejuvenate in Shavasana. Finding comfort in the stillness of this posture. Feeling free to, of course, remain still and settled in Shavasana. If you're ready, you can begin to deepen the breath, billowing through the belly as you inhale and sighing it out as you exhale. Then beginning to find movement throughout the body. That movement can be small, grow incrementally, or maybe your body is ready to extend into a full body stretch, taking up space, feeling space throughout, and then hugging the knees to the chest as you gently sway from side to side, and eventually roll to pause on your favorite side, allowing your practice to settle into the body. Then choosing your path to a comfortable seat, pausing, eyes are closed or downcast, perhaps returning to the seat in which you began class. Spine is long, shoulders stacked over hips, pelvis neutral. Inhale, arms reach high, palms meeting at the top. Exhale, hands pause at your third eye as you seek openness of mind. They rest at your lips so that you find honest words, and they settle at your heart as you arrive at a happy heart. Thank you for allowing me to be your guide for your practice. Namaste.
Thank you.
You're welcome.